is Step 1 with Freddie Wilson. Welcome to another episode of Step 1. I am Freddie Wilson. As a reminder, you can find every episode of Step 1 on Spotify and YouTube. And if you want to see more Step 1, give me a follow on Instagram at Step 1 with Freddie Wilson and Twitter at Step 1 Podcast. And don't forget to click that subscribe button on YouTube. Got a great show for you today. My good friend Alex Larson is joining the show. We have a full weekend of football to recap where we officially become a Boston College football podcast. The Oregon Ducks can live up to potential, and Notre Dame fooled us all. We got NFL action where the Packers lose Jordan Love. The Giants are a mess, and I'll say the Jets are a mess too. And the Steelers find a way to win a game without scoring a touchdown. All right, let's ride. All right, let's get into it with college football. Texas might be back. They went to the big house in Michigan, absolutely dominating the Wolverines. Now, Texas is clearly a team with championship aspirations, and they just showed what they are capable of doing. As for Michigan, it's hard to say if they are just not a good team or if Texas is just way better. But to lose like that at home, that's a loss that's hard to live down. Like, I don't care how good Michigan is, you can't live that down. But again, it happened to Alabama last year, week 2 as well, and Alabama went to the playoffs, so you never know. Maybe Michigan is good, and maybe just Texas is a better team. Moving into the ACC, big announcement. We are a Boston College football podcast now. So if you follow me on Instagram, which you should, by the way, at someone Freddie Wilson, shamelessly plugging in, you may have noticed I was at the Boston College game on Saturday. I will admit, the same atmosphere, not great. We can do better at Boston College. I'm not joking. When I say the music on third down is louder than the fans, I really do mean that. Like, the fans need to get more into this, all right? I know it was a blowout. They won 56-0, but again, like, we need more fan atmosphere, all right? This should be a hard place to play. Come on, it's Boston College. That being said, Boston College might actually be good. Now, I know it was against Duquesne, so that doesn't mean much, but the defense pitched a shutout, and Bill O'Brien has that offense humming. Now, again, it's Boston College. They aren't supposed to be factored in ACC. But if they ever beat Missouri, or at least be competitive, they might be a legitimate contender to make the ACC championship. It's not a hard schedule. They played Florida State and won. They don't play Clemson. They don't play Miami. So they have a chance. Like, I know they play Louisville, but again, like, it's the ACC is wide open, all right? I don't think Clemson's that good. I mean, Boston College could sneak in there. We'll see. We will see. But for now, we are a Boston College podcast. All right, moving into South Bend, Indiana. Notre Dame fooled us all. Impressive week 1 win against Texas A&M. Looked like a legitimate playoff contender. And somehow they lose to Northern Illinois, a team they paid $1 million to come to South Bend and play them. They paid them because they thought we'll get a win and fund Northern Illinois' athletic program. This was not supposed to be a competitive game. And I know I said Notre Dame offense looked great against Texas A&M, and they did. And I thought Riley Leonard's a great quarterback, and it took a week to make that statement age horribly. So now not only does Notre Dame need to probably win out just to make the playoff, their schedule might be harder than they think it is. And if they play the way they played on Saturday, it's going to be a rough season for Notre Dame. Truly embarrassing loss. But hey, give Northern Illinois credit. They came out, played their hearts out. They believed, and you know what? They won. They beat Notre Dame in South Bend. That is a hard thing to do, especially when you're a MAC team who got paid $1 million to go there just to beat them. Like, impressive win. Give them some credit. Speaking about embarrassing losses, let's talk about Colorado. Colorado is an absolute joke of a football team. I say it every week. I don't want to talk about them, but Deion Sanders makes us talk about Colorado. So I think Deion should just go into sales instead of coaching, because this guy has convinced not just me, but the entire nation that Colorado is good, and that's just not true. The only good thing on Colorado is Travis Hunter, and somehow he's expected to carry both the offense and the defense. It's ridiculous that they're asking literally one player to carry both sides of a team. It's not a sustainable system. And also, offensive line is awful. Like they were bad last year. Dion should have allegedly built a better offensive line, but he just only wanted to talk about the defensive line instead. And I'm shocked Dion can't build a better offensive line because his son is the quarterback. That's called being a bad parent by actively putting your son in danger. Like we should be calling child services on Dion because you're legitimately putting your son in danger with that offensive line. Because Shador's not going to last much longer. You already have one son injured. I know he plays defense and he was a freak play, but still, let's not injure both your sons. All right, you're actively putting your son in danger. You're a bad father, Dion. I'm not afraid to say that. But credit to Nebraska because they might finally be back. Dylan Raiola does not look like a freshman. And while the schedule gets harder later in the season, Nebraska might finally go to a bowl game this year. This is the first time in a long time where people are talking about Nebraska in terms of now and not what they were 2 decades ago. And again, I said last week, and I still think it's true. I do think in 9 months, babies are going to be born because of this night. I think this might be the biggest win Nebraska and who knows how long. This was a huge win for the program, and they are going in the right direction, unlike Colorado, who's going in the wrong direction. All right, before I get to the Ducks, do want to mention one thing. If you saw the Oklahoma game, they unveiled a new tradition where they sing Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue by Toby Keith at the end of the third quarter to honor the great Toby Keith because he died back in the spring. He was a lifelong Sooners fan, country music legend. This might be the coolest third quarter tradition. I don't think there's anything more American than a football stadium singing the most patriotic song ever written. Just thought I would say that because I thought it was cool. And if you hadn't seen it, check it out because it's really awesome. Like, this might be the coolest thing I've seen all season. All right, we're going to talk about Oregon football. Now, week 1 was a struggle. Week 2 showed more of the same. Now, credit Boise State, very good football team. They have a Heisman caliber running back in Ashton Gentry, who ran all over the Ducks. He might be the best running back after initial contact that I've ever seen. The guy just is a tackle breaking machine. However, the Ducks just aren't living up to potential, and the schedule's only going to get harder. We saw this game what the offense could be if they have an offensive line. A lot of big plays, and when Dylan Gabriel has the time, he can make things happen. I think we're an offensive line for being a legitimate contender, and I think, the offensive line are some guys who are injured. I think once we get healthier, we might be good. And I know it's depleted for now, but if they just give Dylan Gabriel a chance, the sky's the limit for this team. People are like, oh, I miss Bo Nix. Yes, I miss Bo Nix too. I'm in that camp. But I don't think it's Dylan Gabriel's fault. I think the offensive line is not giving him a chance. And I do not entirely blame Dylan Gabriel for this. All right. It was an absolute nail biter of a game, though. And since I'm on the East Coast, I had to sit till 2 in the morning watching this game. Not joking. I literally sang shout in the third quarter to hype myself up. It's like 1:45. Well, not 1:45. It's like more like 12:45. It's 12:45 Sunday morning, technically. Here I'm in my living room by myself, just literally doing shout all by myself because I need the energy to watch this game. And I know we won, but it was a rough one. All right. I don't want that to happen every week. I want the Ducks to just go back to blowing teams out like we did all of last season. Let's get back to that because we can do that. This team is going to be good. All right. Once we get a few things together, watch out. Moving into the NFL, awesome opening game with the Chiefs and the Ravens. Both teams have somehow gotten better in the offseason. Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson is a scary combo, and the Chiefs now have Xavier Worthy, who fits perfectly in their offense and is the fastest guy in the field. That's why I may have drafted him in fantasy football. Like, if he's not already available on someone's team in your league, get him. He's good, all right? He is the fastest receiver in the league, maybe over Tyreek Hill. He fits perfectly into this offense. I love Xavier Worthy. I think he's going to have a great season. And it's just not fair that the Chiefs were able to get him. The game came down to quite literally a toe on a line. And I agree with Patrick Mahomes. If Isaiah Likely had worn white cleats, maybe the touchdown would have counted. It was that close. Like if he was wearing white shoes on a white line, would have been hard to tell. Hard way to lose, but man, what a way to start the season with such a great game. All right, moving into Friday night in Sao Paulo, Brazil, where the field was atrocious. And the fact that the physical field affected the players is ridiculous. I don't understand why the NFL quite literally can't quite literally even the playing field and make every team play on a same service. But because this was ridiculous, the turf monster got everyone in this game. And before I get to the actual game, let's talk about like NFL international games. So obviously they do some Europe games. They did this one in Sao Paulo, which again didn't love, not the best idea. The field sucked. There was legitimate safety concerns, but also they're like thinking of doing more international games, and one of them is in Dubai. Yeah, don't do that. A, it's far. B, what football fans live in the United Arab Emirates? None. Don't do it. Don't work with such a terrible country, all right? Just because they have money. I won't boycott an NFL unless it's a terrible game, in which case I might actually take a stand and boycott that one game. If you go to Dubai to play football and it's not a good matchup, I will boycott that, partially because I don't stand working with authoritarian regimes, but also it might be a bad game. Don't do it, NFL. As for the game itself, the Packers offense looked relatively good, but the defense couldn't stop Saquon Barkley, which is a Giants fan worst nightmare, seeing their former star play well for the Eagles. And at the end of the game, Jordan Love went down hard and apparently is a sprained MCL. We'll get into this more, but it's only going to be a few weeks. And I do think the Packers play better later on in the year. So it might be rough early on, but I don't rule us out because for some reason, the Packers always find a way to play meaningful football down the stretch. Moving into Sunday, the Patriots found a way to win a game with new coach Gerard Mayo. Now, I do think the Bengals often start slow in the season, and they looked bad, but credit Patriots for going into Cincinnati and winning. Like, new coach, pretty more or less a new team, very low expectations. Like, give them some credit, all right? I don't think the Patriots are going to be good, but this is a good week one win for a new era of Patriots football. Also, the Giants are clearly missing Saquon Barkley, and if they are regretting paying Daniel Jones, they should be. I never liked Daniel Jones. I always thought he was a mediocre quarterback at best. Like on a good day, he is a mediocre quarterback. I don't understand why they paid him all that money. And then this offseason, where they could have taken the loss, they could have moved on. They decided to keep him. They lost Saquon in the process, and now they can't create an offense that can't score points for themselves. They can only score points for the other team, quite literally. Apparently, since Daniel Jones signed that contract, he has more pick sixes than he does touchdowns for his own team. I know he's been injured and all that, but like when he's on the field, he's atrocious. Like, why are they playing him? You know, they have another guy on the team named Tommy DeVito who can actually play quarterback, and he's a lot cheaper. Just, I don't understand. I'm glad the Giants are losing. I hate the Giants, but like, it's sad to see them believe in Daniel Jones because he's not that good. The Steelers are showing they are, in fact, the Iowa Hawkeyes of the NFL. The offense is not good. I know Justin Fields was starting over Russell Wilson, like a last minute thing, but between their elite defense and great kicker, they found a way to win a game without ever scoring a touchdown. Most frustrating way to lose a game, in my opinion. And the Steelers are going to do this all season. It's not pretty, but it gets the job done. And you know what? A win's a win. But they are going to do this all year where they're going to like you think you're going to be able to beat them because their offense is so bad, but their defense will hold strong. They'll kick field goals, maybe get like some bogus touchdown, and they will win games. They'll be over 500 and they might make the playoffs this way. It's ridiculous. I know. Caleb Williams won his first NFL game as the Bears quarterback, but I would argue that Will Levis and the Titans won the Bears that game. They blew a 17-point lead, looked terrible, so credit the Bears, but I don't think they are good. They got lucky, and the Titans are going to be bad. Meanwhile, Miami, Tyreek Hill gets arrested and detained on the side of the road going to the game and still shines on the field. Yeah, credit to him. He gets arrested and still decides to go play and dominates and like makes fun of the fact that he got arrested by pretending to get handcuffed as a touchdown celebration. Like, give some man a credit. And also, like, the police were not nice to Tyreek Hill. All right. Like, I do agree with him. What if he wasn't Tyreek Hill? Like, the whole thing was bad. I'm glad Tyreek's okay. I'm glad he played, and I'm glad everyone is okay. In the afternoon games, the Chargers found a way to beat the Raiders. So I don't think the Chargers are that good. I just think the Raiders offense hasn't figured it all out yet. It might be another frustrating season for Devontae Adams in Vegas, which again, may I remind him, he had everything he wanted in Green Bay. He just took the money, ran to Vegas. I love the guy, but I don't feel bad for him at all. He did this to himself. All right. He had everything he needed in Green Bay, but he's like, you know what? I'm going to go play with Derek Carr. And Derek Carr was only there for a season before leaving. And now Devontae has no one to throw the ball. And yes, I love Gardner Minshew, but like, he is not Aaron Rodgers. He's not even Jordan Love, in my opinion. The Cowboys exposed Deshaun Watson in Cleveland as they march to a dominant win. I'll let Cowboys fans think they're good, but let's talk about it when you don't make the NFC Championship game, you lose dramatically in the playoffs because, again, Cowboys are great in a regular season, but they can't figure out a win in the playoffs. So I don't have any faith in the Cowboys being relevant at all. Moving to Sunday night, the Lions were able to hold on and beat the Rams in overtime. Again, feel like I'm not alone in saying this. NFL needs to change the overtime rules. It should not come down to essentially a coin toss. Both teams should get a chance to possess the ball, and they should really use college football overtime because it's way better and fairer. And finally, Monday night, Aaron Rodgers made through all 4 quarters in a Jets uniform. And guess what? The Jets are still awful. The 49ers, who didn't have Christian McCaffrey, still dominated the Jets the entire game. Give some credit to Jordan Mason, filling in for some pretty big shoes, having a huge impact on the game. And I will admit, the Jets' offense looked a little more competent than we've seen in the past. I wouldn't describe it as good, but competent is a good word to describe them. I don't think the Jets are going to be good, though. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to retire after this year. He's old. They're going to go 6-11. Rodgers is going to retire, and then all of his hope will go to waste. And the Jets will be back at square one as being a hopeless franchise. And now let's get to my interview with Alex Larson. All right, today we welcome on a very special guest. First time, long time. It's been a long time coming. Glad we were able to do this. Alex Larson, welcome to Step One.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, before we get into football and all, I actually have a question, and you might know where this is going. So, back in the day, when I was a camp counselor at our summer camp, Camp Moden, your little brother was strutting around wearing his Steph Curry jersey. I always called him out. I'm like, you're not a Warriors fan. You're a bandwagoner because the Knicks suck. And he was always like, no, I've been a Warriors fan for years. Kid was 10 at the time, by the way. So is he still a Warriors fan, or was I right? Please say I'm right.
He's a Hawks fan? You are correct, sir.
Wait. Why is he? What is this? Is he trying to hop on the wagon while they're bad? Like, what's the logic behind that?
When the Hawks got hot in the playoffs a few years ago.
Okay, so 3 years ago he became a Hawks fan, and he's stuck with them.
Yeah, I know. It's been an interesting conversation topic between him and I because, like, growing up in New York, like, yes, I had like two teams to choose from, but even then, I wasn't really much of a basketball fan. Like, I went to, like, I think 2 Knick games total. So, like, I could say I've been to them, but, like, I was never just a fan of basketball growing up.
Even in such a great basketball city that is New York, because it is a basketball city.
You'd think, right? You'd think. Like, even I like Melo was on the Knicks, like Jeremy Lin, the Lin era. But, like, I wasn't.
Era's a loose war.
Yeah, era by era, I mean, like,
you mean like the week?
Insanity. 2 weeks.
It was a time to be 2 weeks. My bad. It was a time to be alive.
But even still, I never like made it a habit to watch basketball. Like, football was on. Like, I was into baseball like much more back then, and so, like, I was just absorbed between those two. And so when my dad moved to Denver 4 years ago. Now, 4 years ago, that's important. 4 years ago, the Nuggets were terrible. The Nuggets were terrible.
Weren't that bad 4 years ago. They had like
potential. They had a small playoff berth, but they were basically like terrible. And it was one of those things where it's like right time, right place. Like, I started watching basketball a lot more. Like, I went to so many Nuggets games like over winter break. Like the winter breaks that I have, and like it got me to become a basketball fan. And
you're a Nuggets fan now,
which is not now. I've never
not
really
now. My bad.
Yeah, not. I've never watched really or gotten into basketball, so this is like kind of it's new for me. And so, like, even still though, like I like it's still always a point of contention when talking like sports with someone because it's like, oh, that's funny timing. It's like I swear on my life, I don't know a single thing about basketball up until like probably 2018. So,
I used to
like
run with
aside
the
from like the
theory
greats,
that
you
I
know?
thought Steph Curry was going to be good in like 2011, which he already was. But
Yeah,
like,
and now he's the best point guard of all time.
I mean,
And like undisputed in my eyes, undisputed best point guard of all time.
all right, I
Like
get behind.
I think Magic Johnson is a very close second place, but I think um Steph's ability to shoot is just he changed the way basketball is played.
I
Period.
know
Like
it's a problem though, because now all little kids want to do is shoot threes, and like 11-year-olds can't shoot.
yeah.
Okay, they
But
should not be doing that.
back to the point though, yes, to answer your question, absolute bandwagoner. And like
We're pro.
this is
I'm a
coming from some
bandwagon though. We all kind
right,
of are
right.
at
But
some point.
this is coming from someone who like just started watching basketball too. So I kind of like have no room to talk because
Just
Nuggets I became a Nuggets fan and then they won the chip 2 years later. So
you hopped
like
on a
come
bandwagon
on.
on
Like
time.
I didn't like I that's the thing. Like I didn't consider myself a bandwagoner at the time. And like hindsight's 2020, you
You
know?
joined at the right
Looking
time.
I don't it was just right place, right time. I got lucky, but like I could see why people would think like I'm also a bandwagoner when in reality it's just like I never had time to watch basketball. Like and I was never into it like that. And so like it was just
I mean, it's
a
hard
whole
when the
different
Knicks
meaning.
disappoint you every year as well.
Yeah, I mean, growing up like in high school, middle school, I had so many friends who would like talking about the Knicks all the time, and
It
like
was
they'd go
just
to
like
games all the
every year they
time.
were never going to be good
And
enough to win
and
much.
it's not like I didn't care to have those conversations. It was just more so. It's just like they're not they're not going to do anything. They're a New
You
York
had a
basketball
Steve
team. Who
Novak shirt
cares? Like
though. Let's not.
I had a Novak shirt, and I
Why?
recently because so the Knicks games that I went to.
Big fan of Steve Novak, obviously.
Not even. So that was like a random birthday present, which from one of my friend, like one of my high school friends, or not high. Well, he got it for me in middle school. That's hence me wearing it at camp. Um, but it was like a random birthday present. I'm like,
All
thank you.
right,
I don't watch the Knicks,
that's
and I don't know who this
and
is, but
also
thank you.
the most random player on the team.
Yeah, and
You
then
know why? He
I
probably
recently
got it when he
found
got traded.
no, for sure. I recently I totally forgot that I even had this, but this was from the first Knicks game I attended. I found my Carmelo Anthony like blue like Knicks jersey shirt, which is like I saw it and I'm like I don't
Not a
even
bad
want to touch
shirt.
this thing. No, it's not like it's like a jersey shirt, you know.
Yeah, it's still
But
Jersey. It still looks
yeah,
cool. All
but
right.
I don't know.
I actually have a question before we get into New York sports. I do
Yeah.
have a question about Denver. So I've heard that Denver's the type of city where no one is from Denver. Is it true that like there are sports bars for every other city's team in Denver? Like there, because again, there are not that many like true locals.
So I'm not sure how much that part is true. It's a stereotype, but here's the thing about stereotypes, right? There's always a
They're
grain of
usually
truth in
true.
them. Not true, but there's at least they're like jokes in the sense that there's always a grain of truth in them, you know. And you know the amount of people that live in Denver that I've worked with that are my friends that are not from there. All of my friends from Denver are not actually from Denver. They're from like Maine or from New
Because no one.
Hampshire or
It's a
from
city of
Utah.
transplants.
Like exactly. And so because of that, there is this like bar culture of whatever sports is on is being watched by anyone because you know it doesn't that's the thing with Denver. It's like yes, you'll throw on the Broncos, you'll throw on the Rockies, even though they're terrible.
But don't hate on the
Or
Rockies.
no, I have been to more Rockies games at this point in my life than I've been to Mets games, and I can tell you
Yeah, because
this
they're
with
it's
absolute
way
certain
cheaper.
because they're terrible.
Also, because it's Denver. Like I will
Yeah,
admit, like most outside of like the Red Sox, Yankees, Mets, Cubs, like baseball tickets are usually pretty cheap.
they're yeah. I mean, I
Like
think yes. I mean, growing up, I think baseball tickets were definitely cheaper. Like before inflation did its thing and has been doing its
Yankees
thing.
tickets were always expensive though,
Yeah,
and so were Red Sox
dude,
tickets
I'll say this: Mets tickets are getting up there. Mets tickets right now,
because they're
cheap tickets are going for like anywhere from like 90 to 120, which is
because
like that's one ticket.
they're gearing up for a wild card run. Like we don't talk a whole lot about baseball on this podcast, but like
Nah, yeah.
I mean, we have to talk a little bit about. I don't think the Red Sox are going to do it. Big win last night, though.
Yeah, Red Sox, I mean, they looked
So I
pretty good in the beginning of the season, but
well, not
they
beginning. They had that stretch from like end of June to the All Star
yeah, well,
break.
yeah, I guess not beginning, but like yeah, right
Like
before the All-Star break they
they
were
had
good.
a good 20-game stretch where they made me believe. And now I still watch. Well, I don't watch them anymore because it's football season. You think I'm gonna watch baseball? No,
No,
but
exactly. Right?
like they had me believing for a minute,
Yeah, I
and they're just.
I
It's
don't
gonna be
like
a sad Netflix documentary because they're doing a docu series for the Red Sox this season, and it's just gonna be such a depressing documentary.
oh man. You know,
I'll still
as
watch
I
every
mean,
episode.
as a Mets fan, I know a thing or two about being
Thought you
depressed
were
while watching
Yankees.
baseball. No, a Mets
You're-
fan since Mets fan born and raised. I
All
think
right, all right.
growing up, I'd always, especially with people we went to camp with, talking about
I mean, you can use their names. Most of them have
talking
been on the show.
yeah. I think Mizell in particular. I don't know if he's been
He
on
has
yet,
he has
but
not been on the show,
that
but he gets referenced all
doesn't
the
surprise
time.
me. Anytime Mizell would bring up the Red Sox, it was my obligation as a New Yorker, even as a Mets fan, to bring up the Yankees and just see him pout a little bit. Like that
Yeah, because it's called
honestly,
being a Boston fan.
I love him to death, and seeing him pout over the Red Sox brings me great joy. So I say that not as a Yankees fan because I'm not. I say that as a New Yorker. New Yorkers by design, we hate New England teams. We just do. There's no logical reasoning to it. We just
There
do.
is logical reasoning. It's called a regional rivalry.
Regional rivalry, but here's the thing. Before like
Also, Boston fans, like
it's
I
been
am
going
from
on.
here,
It's
but
been
we're
going on
obnoxious.
since it's been going on forever. Like forever, 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 forever.
It's one of the two most obnoxious like fan bases. Like you could throw Philly in the mix, but like I don't think there are two
Eagles
more.
fans, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's why I don't say Philly as a whole because I just really single out Eagles fans because I don't think like an Eagles fan who's also a Phillies fan. I don't think they go full out like they do for the Eagles for the Phillies. Again,
Right.
not an expert, but Boston fans as a whole are just obnoxious. New York fans as a whole are obnoxious. Philly fans are obnoxious when they root for the Eagles.
Yeah.
It's a very different
I agree with
experience.
that. Also the Phillies, depending on how good they are that year, depending on how good they can get it.
The
But
Red
it's like
October.
they're within reason though. Like Phillies fans keep it like grounded. They're like we can suck and we're aware of that. So
They're
like
pretty good this year, though. The Red October could come.
the Phillies.
Oh,
I don't.
Red October's
Talking about
fun.
talking about the Phillies for me is like talking about the Braves. I hate. Yeah, I
Why do
don't
you
like
hate?
it.
Why do you have beef with the Braves?
I'm a Mets fan.
And yeah, beef. Oh, AL East. I forget that they're in the same
Yeah,
division.
it's okay. Baseball regions are weird. It's okay.
Well, no, they're a little more reasonable. Football is the one that's weird.
Yeah.
And let's get to football.
Yeah, let's do it.
Giants. Daniel Jones. Why?
Daniel Jones, because we've been depressed since Eli Manning and we don't know what to do. And to be
This
fair,
was
like
the year to get. We shouldn't have signed him, in my opinion. And
I
then why'd you could have traded up? You could have like done the draft better. You could have taken the loss.
the
Maybe
problem the
keep
problem with the
Saquon.
Giants, and the Giants historically have done this with what they have deemed to be good players. They put all their eggs in the same basket. And so, like, you think about like Odell's deal, for instance, before he was traded. You think about what Manning's was after he beat Brady the first time. Like these, like they throw ridiculous money at people that they believe in, which is not a bad thing.
At least
I
Eli
think
Manning won a Super Bowl.
no, that's the difference though. The issue is that within the last decade, Giants and their decision making has been, I guess not decade, but like you get it, like been 8 to 5 years onwards. The Giants decision making in front office has been absolutely terrible.
We got a whole documentary about making terrible decisions.
No, literally, like I can't.
Did you watch the documentary?
Justice. Of course I did. I had to. It was.
I didn't watch all of it, but like it was the owner saying if Saquon goes to the Barkley if Saquon goes to the Eagles, I'm gonna lose sleep. Like, yeah, you're gonna lose a lot of sleep this season.
And as someone who was fortunate enough to have Saquon on their fantasy team and is so happy that Saquon is finally putting up the numbers that he should have been putting up this whole
What
time.
kind of Giants fan are you
Um,
drafting the enemy?
that's auto draft. That's not my fault. I was at an event that I couldn't miss, and because okay, so I'm so happy we're talking about football and auto drafting. So my
Yeah, because you're the
technique,
auto draft champion of the league.
champion of the league. I have made playoffs nearly within the last 4 years. I've made it twice. I've made top four twice, just by auto drafting. And here's
Ridiculous.
the simple method to my madness is
It's
acknowledging it's 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 really I acknowledge that fantasy football is all random. Like at the end of the day, good
it's a
players are
lot
good.
of skill. I don't know what you're talking
Well,
about.
good players are good players, right? But
I like
that
to think I'm
doesn't
one of the good
that
ones.
doesn't mean they're going to produce all the time. Like for instance, Mahomes, phenomenal QB. In terms of his accolades currently in the league, he is probably the undisputed best QB in the league. Just in terms of accolades, I'm not talking about like necessarily ability. I'm just talking about what he's done with his career.
Yeah.
Now, does he still have the occasional slouch fantasy game? Of course
But
he
every
does.
quarterback does. It's just like who's
That's
the most
that's
consistent.
well,
And
that's
again,
that's that's what I'm saying though. So I pick my auto drafting technique. I was not necessarily after like boom
but
players.
how do you set up your auto draft? How does that work? Like you like
Everything down to my kicker for my starting
oh, I thought
lineup.
you really went
I
random. No, you actually think this through and let it do it for
oh
you.
so what I do is even though I'm auto drafting, technically, I am still at least in previous drafts. This draft I'm screwed, and we don't even talk about my team.
You have Saquon. I think you're
Especially
doing
well,
okay.
yeah, but Puka's on the IR currently, and I'm not happy about it.
You
But
should have traded in with a friend of a show, Simon.
hell no. Oh, that was highway robbery, and he knew that
Friend
too.
of a show, by the way.
He knew that too. But no, I think previous seasons I always intentionally drafted players that were consistently average. That they did not like when they boomed, they would boom, but if they busted, they wouldn't be like terrible games. Like they'd still make like 13 points, 14 points,
The
like
strategy.
and so through that, and just playing the draft, like I would be in the draft. I'd be watching who gets drafted. I'm like, oh, that pick gets
Well, would you
changed.
be in the draft? You mean so you weren't auto drafting?
But that's the thing. I would still leave the draft. Like I would still every time we have drafted over the last few years, just for like it's worked in the moment in terms of like when we're planning it, and then when the day actually arrives, something has always come up for me. Like it's
Yeah.
it's actually unreal how unlucky I am.
Oh,
But
that's
it's
why I
also
always make sure my schedule's clear. End of August outwards.
I try to do that, especially because like
I tell
with how
people
we
not to
play, it's an
invite me to
investment.
weddings
You're
after
throwing
August.
you're throwing in $20 for the league, and so like it is an
We
investment
don't have
technically.
we don't have $20 in this league.
We should.
We don't though. We have a beautiful trophy.
Yeah, we should. I've always been in the belief that you get what I'm saying, though. Like we're playing for a
Yes.
prize. We're playing for something that we all pitched in
Playing
for.
for
Anyways,
pride.
it's the premise. It's the premise.
We're
It's not
playing for
the money.
pride. We're playing to
But
beat our friends. It's what men were built on.
yeah, fuck yeah. But I also think that like especially when there's a more tangible prize, like I want to be present for the draft, obviously. But
Tangible
like
prize. We
I've
have a
just been
trophy.
screwed.
That's the most tangible prize you're ever going to get.
That's why I said especially because we have a tangible
Oh, I thought
prize.
you said because we don't have one. I'm
No,
like,
no, no, no,
gonna
no. Um,
say,
it's a massive medieval helmet. What do you mean?
I mean, she's a beaut.
She's a
It
beaut.
was such a great apartment decoration. And let me tell you, a little secret, chicks dig it. I'm not joking. It's a
a chick magnet.
conversation
It's a chick
starter.
magnet. Yeah.
It really is. We're like, oh, what's that helmet? All right. Well, let me tell you a great story about the night I won my fantasy football league.
That trophy. One of these seasons, when I'm actually present
It's
for the draft, that trophy will be mine. That
I like your
trophy will be
confidence.
mine.
Well, it's currently in New York's with our good friend Eli Hearn, so maybe it will stay there. And Eli did our fantasy football preview this year, by the way, because his 4 quarterback strategy is tried and true.
Yeah, that he was so serious
I,
about
I
that
bring
too.
it up every time he comes on the show just to
He was
remind
so
him he
he
did
was.
that, and he stands by it. And
I mean, look, he's got gumption. He's got gumption. But does he have what it takes to win this season? I
I think he
don't think
does.
so,
He beat
Freddie.
me.
I
I think he
I
does.
but to be fair, and I don't know how to put this in a delicate way, your team is trash. So that should come
Thank
as
you
no
for
surprise for
reminding me.
I love you too. But I think like
Hey, I
the
drafted Xavier Worthy.
important thing we recognize is that he drafted 4 QBs, right? He's going into this very cocky, right?
Four QBs. It's a strategy, all right? Like some people have their thing. I like, don't draft four QBs.
I
Eli
don't know.
does.
Like I am concerned with the depth of my team. As is like I am concerned every season just because of the way like our like teams are set up and how the waiver wire is. It's just like it's basically it's either it could potentially be a gold mine like Puka for instance last season was snagged off of it. But for the most part, it's like what you have is what you have, kind of like with some exceptions, obviously. But I think like this season in particular, I am really concerned about my depth. Like really
All
concerned about
right.
my bench.
Let's see if
It's
this
not
ages well
pretty.
or not. I will keep a note on this one if it ages poorly
Yeah,
or ages well.
I don't think with my depth, especially because Puka's injured now, I'm gonna have to do some finagling to make sure I actually have a competent team moving forwards.
All right. Well,
Um,
we got to get back
but
to the Giants. Though. What
yeah,
is what is the future of the Giants? Like what Malik Neighbors is a good receiver, great receiver actually, but like I don't know. Like if Daniel Jones is throwing you the ball, it's hard to be good. Like I think, yeah, he can get open, but you need a guy who can throw him the ball. And I think
as
they
a as a
they've
Giants
built.
fan, this is what I'm going to say to answer that question. As a Giants fan, I would rather watch Josh Allen throw picks for an entire game than watch the Giants play.
I mean, that makes sense. They're a hard team to watch. It's just like it's an offense, so like they get good receivers, then they can't use them.
And they end up trading them away. They're honestly their management style really, to be completely blunt with you, actually completely reminds me of the Colorado Rockies because they have like a good foundational program that builds up skill, and the
I don't.
second they're even noticeable, they get rid of them, or the skill drops down immediately. Like Daniel Jones got hot a little. I'm not
No,
saying
whoa,
he
whoa,
was
whoa.
fantastic. He
Hod was
hot for
him
like
playing mediocre. It was
yeah,
not.
mediocre, but it was for like 3-4 games. Like it wasn't anything crazy.
It was a playoff
but
win.
exactly like he made playoffs and got a playoff win, and so um he has the Giants see the flashes of him, his what he could potentially be, and have convinced themselves that he's all that when he's not. He doesn't. Just watching him play, he's just not. He doesn't have a really good QB awareness,
He
honestly.
looks
Like
like Woody from Toy Story.
it's not even the fact that every time he throws the ball has the potential to be picked off, because that's a very real thing. But it's just
It was a
it's
bad
like
move.
it's like playing Madden, and you're going to that receiver no matter what happens, and
Hey,
you
have you
go
not watched my
regardless every single
streams?
time.
I
No,
do that every
exactly.
time.
Exactly. It's like I'm going for X, even though X is in double coverage right now, and I don't care.
We're
That's how
recording it
Daniel
on
Jones
Tuesday.
plays.
This is on Tuesday, by the way. You got to tune in tonight to the stream.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
got,
I
you
will.
got. I mean, I'm telling you.
9 p.m. I'll tell you this. I've had a long day at work. I'm going to do some homework after this. I might potentially go out tonight, see a friend for a beer. If not, I'm watching the stream 1000%.
Watch it
Yes.
with your friend Bar. Like, yo, man. Like, I know we're hanging out, but like,
True, true,
check
true,
this out.
true. No, no, you're not wrong. You're not.
Bring it
I
on a
gotta put him
date.
on. I gotta.
I I don't schedule dates during football anymore. By the way, uh,
I.
I can tell you why exactly why.
Mm,
So let's just say I don't even remember anything about this person. Like it was like a couple years back. It was during a playoff game, not my team, but during a playoff game. And it was like that Chargers, like Jags game, one where the Jags like came back.
mm.
And so like I watched the first half, it's a blowout. I'm like, oh, the Chargers are running away with this. Good for the Chargers. Go on this very mediocre date and I come back and I'm like, oh, the Jags came back, and I missed this.
Oh,
So now, yeah, we're not even taking a chance anymore. It could be a blowout. I don't care. Like I work around it.
that's fair. Also, like,
As you can see, that's where my mind wanders.
there's also the argument to be made that football is our happy place, and so we should
I
not
mean, and
we
it's
should
not an
not.
argument; it's reality.
Football is our happy place. Like
It's a
football
it's a
and the
lifestyle.
and I like I'm available Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights and Friday nights.
Well,
Not
Friday night.
Saturday,
Well, Friday
not
nights. It
not
depends.
Saturday mornings. There could be a freaking game in Brazil or whatever. But
What was on Friday?
Saturday nights, yeah. All day Sunday, nope. Monday night,
Well,
nope.
you don't do
Thursday night,
college,
nope.
so you don't do college ball, so I got Saturdays booked.
Yeah, I
You're
Saturdays,
yeah, I know you
Saturdays,
don't do
yeah, yeah.
college. Like it's New York. Like I do think one of the funniest things I've ever read, like sports wise, was when they were like talking about conference expansion. Like when this was before everything happened, and we're just saying USC, UCLA are going to the Big Ten. I don't remember where this was, probably ESPN. It was like they wanted to expand the LA market, and then they talk about how when they added Rutgers, it was because they wanted to expand into the New York City market. And the author writes, I live in New York City. I have never once talked to any New Yorkers about Rutgers football. I don't think anyone cares about Rutgers. And it's not because they're bad, they are. But even if they were good, I don't think New Yorkers would care. I don't think, like, they're not a New York school, they're a New Jersey school. And even then, like, I don't think people care enough.
I don't know. I
It's,
mean,
it's, I, do you know any Rutgers fans?
especially just bouncing back from state to state. Like I have no concept of what the average New Yorker even thinks at this point. I need to be here
So
for a
I'm
bit.
guessing you've never talked about Rutgers with a New Yorker. No
But
one's ever been
no,
like, yo, you watched the Rutgers game on
throughout
Saturday?
throughout throughout my like growing up, like through 18 and even just being back, like coming back for like spring breaks or winter breaks or whatever, college football has not come up even once in conversation.
It's because like it's the Northeast is not the market for college football. So like I didn't realize how great it was until I went to the University of Oregon. I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's changing a lot, but like it is the games mean more. Or now they don't, one loss won't kill you, like because of a whole new format. But like you can lose 6 games in the NFL and be fine. You
yeah,
can't. You lose 6 games in college football, you're a terrible team.
yeah. But I also like I think you also like got lucky like being able to go to a school that had like this kind of football
Part of the
program and so
reason why I chose it.
right,
Academics is
exactly,
a thing
yeah.
we do there as well. Like we're an academic institution. Like that's obviously what we're known for, not like Nike or, football. We're an academic institution first, obviously. Come on,
Yeah,
we're not,
no.
we go to class,
You know,
allegedly.
I never had that experience in undergrad, so I wasn't able to like I don't know, I did try like once I got to DC, I did try to get into college football, but even still not having a team there, it's just like
I mean, DC, like they don't have it. You can root for Virginia. Virginia Tech is not a bad team to root for, but that's still a good ways from DC.
yeah, no, exactly. There
But
wasn't yeah.
it helps when you have a team into it. Like it does help when you have a team you root for, but it's fun. Obviously it's changing and I don't love all the changes because like I like the uniqueness of the conferences,
Right.
but like at the end of the day, I still watch every Saturday and I don't plan on stopping.
Football's football.
I mean, it's college football Saturdays. Like it's fun. And yeah, like the pageantry, A plus. We're a pageantry podcast. We, I think I talked about it earlier in the show, but you definitely didn't see this. So at Oklahoma games now, third quarter, they sing courtesy to red, white, and blue because Toby Keith was a huge Sooners fan. R.I.P. By the way, and it honestly might be like the coolest thing I've ever seen. I'm not joking.
That's so sick.
Like
That's
just
honestly so sick.
80,000 people belting. Like we'll put a boot in your ass. It's the American way. Is the most American thing I've ever seen.
I love that. That's great.
So like I remember like sitting watching like my fantasy do shit. And I just like see this on my phone. I'm like, oh, this is why I like football. Like this is why I watch it. Like it's moments like these that you remember why you do it.
Yeah. Honestly, for me, it's just like I think for me personally, it's just like I think I have a lot of good memories growing up with football. While I've been around friends or like
Good
family, like
memories? You
yeah,
mean
oh
two
yeah,
seasons?
oh no, like even well, you're funny. How did the Patriots do those years?
Uh, I'm not a Patriots fan.
Yeah, but you lived in New England, so you know. How
Uh,
did the Patriots do those years?
they did
Do you
okay,
do you know 18-0? Because I don't know 18-0.
I remember watching that
I
game.
don't know 18-0.
I I'm glad I don't
Um,
either.
but yeah, Giants. That's the thing. Like Giant football is just not interesting anymore. But I think like it
Hey, it
wasn't
could be
even watching.
worse. You
It
could be a
wasn't.
Jets fan.
Yeah, it wasn't even. That's the thing though. It wasn't even watching the Giants play growing up necessarily as it was just like, watching with like close friends or watching with like my grandfather, for instance. Like I think like just have really good memories of football, and so like now it's like football is my comfort zone, and no one will ruin my comfort zone,
Except Daniel Jones.
except for Daniel Jones. But you know, that's the thing with Giants fans. Or being a Giants fan right now, it's very much like being a Mets fan, because
You're
you
hanging on
watch
to the past.
you exactly you hang on to the past, you watch your team presently, and you're depressed, and that's what depression is. Great link. It's being too focused on the past, and oh, this could have been so much
Typical
better for
psychology, like
me.
PhD or doctor, whatever you're doing. I know you're doing great
Masters
things
of
beyond
social work.
this.
But
Oh,
for me, it's all the same thing, more or less. Like I want to get a PhD in clinical psychology, but that's not even the point. The point is
and it
that
all starts here on step one.
it's all step one. But yeah, no, the point is that literally it's the same emotions I get watching the Mets that I do the Giants. It's I turn on the TV and I want to turn it off within 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes, I'm like, this is
Sounds about right.
terrible, and I want to gouge my eyes out.
Also, I went to MedLife for the first time last December. Me and all friends of a show, by the way, went to the
What do you
Packers
think of?
Giants. Not a fan of MedLife. I think it's a cool stadium and all, I guess, but like to be fair, I've also been very like blessed, like like to root for teams with like just great fan atmospheres. Like nothing will beat Oregon, nothing will beat Green
Mm-hmm.
Bay. So like I have a high bar, and again, I'm biased. Like if I were a Giants or Jets fan, I might think MetLife might be the coolest place ever because it's my team who plays there. But like like it was a Monday night in December. It was cold. There were definitely a decent amount of Packers fans there, me included.
There you go.
Like, I bet if it like got if they ever get a host a playoff game, it would be kind of cool. Maybe. I don't think either team is going to host the playoff game anytime soon because that requires to win your division. So again, but I also went to a Knicks game this year, and like I will give MSG credit. That is probably the best basketball experience I've ever had because that's
Yeah,
like
we'll definitely when you're
a
here
pretty
next,
cool place.
we'll definitely try to go to something when you're here for sure.
I will be there for 2 days. We're watching Michigan, Oregon, somewhere in the city. Our
All
friend
right,
Jacob
perfect,
Feldstein
sweet.
has locked it down because there's an Oregon Ducks bar, I'm told, and I'm trying to find my Ducks fans in these parts. And it's probably gonna
Hell
be a
yeah,
bunch of
sounds like a
Michigan
good
fans
time.
rooting there as well. Yeah, Michigan's
That'll
gonna
be
be
fun.
bad.
That'll be
We've
fun.
talked a lot about Michigan on the show. We had our friend Seth Isaacson on to help break down Wolverines. At some point in the future, I don't know when. Our friend Nadav Hersing and I, we're gonna watch that Connor Stallions documentary to discuss because that happened.
Right. I open or first night of football this season I watched with Feldstein and Simon and Joe, and it was a good time.
You
Yeah,
got to you go to that Buffalo Bills bar that
yeah, we went to, I think it was bars called like Overlook. I think
there's
I've
a
just
Buffalo
never heard
Bills
of it.
bar near where
Um,
Feldstein and Simon live, and it's
it,
something.
it wasn't that. I don't think. I mean, I feel like I would know if it was a Bills bar.
You would know.
Yeah, no, so it wasn't that.
They only have
Um,
Labatt Blue or
I
Labatt Blue
love,
Lights.
I love that.
I
No,
like
but
Labatt Blue. Should be. It's a good beer. Like it's not the best beer in the world.
It's not the best beer in the world, Freddie. It really isn't.
I mean, it's better than whatever Chicago calls beer. Like
That's true. I mean, my standards for beer have gone up as working in
Chicago, well,
restaurants.
Chicago things like I love the food in Chicago, but like old style gross beer. And this isn't a beer, but it's a Chicago thing. Have you ever had Malort by chance? Or are you familiar with Malort?
I don't I don't
Oh,
think
it's
so,
bad.
actually.
It's a liqueur, I want to say. It's
Oh,
gross. It's notoriously bitter. It's a Chicago thing.
that sounds
It's
terrible. That's
bad.
not a liqueur. That's not beer. What the fuck?
Well, it's
That's
not.
an
No, no,
insult
it's
to
not beer.
beer.
It's not beer. I'm.
Oh,
It's very
oh, it's
much
like
not beer.
liqueur based. Okay, okay.
It's like you take a shot of it. It's like a Chicago novelty. Like so, last time I was in Chicago, our
Shot of
friend
liqueur.
Ben Levy, who's not been on the show yet, but will be, and uh, he's like, I heard about this. I like told him I heard about this thing called a Malort. What is that? It's like you gotta try it just to experience it. I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, you'll know it when you try it.
I will stick to my shots of tequila. Thank you very
All
much.
right, we got a few minutes left, but before you leave, so every guest we have on the show, we do a Super Bowl prediction. I have a thing going. All right, so here's how this works. You can give your Super Bowl picks now. If you do return to the show any amount of times throughout the season, you and I'm included on this, have the opportunity to switch your prediction once.
Okay.
So, but so far, I can tell you, we've done this 3 times. So our friend Jacob Feldstein has Chiefs over Eagles. Eli has Ravens over 49ers. I have Packers over Bengals, by the way. I'm not changing that yet. I'm sticking with it because I think it will be that. I really do. What do we got for Super Bowl picks?
Um, I'm trying to think. I'm looking at teams right now.
You have to look at teams to figure out who you want to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I watched opening night, but I didn't watch week one. I haven't watched highlights. I don't know how they played. Um, mm, I think AFC, AFC. Let's see. Um, I really
Say
hope
the
I'm
Chiefs.
wrong. I really don't want to say them.
You're gonna say it.
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say because here's the thing.
Wait,
Like
you're saying
it's
the Chiefs, right?
Of course I am because it's if you think they're not making playoffs, you're not watching.
Well,
You're
no,
not a fan
they're
of
making a
football.
playoffs. Just can they make the
Um,
Super Bowl?
I think with what their road has been in the past, considering how teams have changed during the off season, I think they could do it again, and I think they could do it
I,
better.
I mean, little
Honestly,
side note, I've talked about a lot. Like, it's ridiculous, like that a Super Bowl winning team somehow managed to get better
I
during the
know,
offseason.
I know, I
Xavier
know,
Worthy was like,
dude.
okay,
He's
maybe
got
not the
he's got
best.
jets,
Well,
dude. He
maybe
doesn't
not the
have
best
legs,
receiver in terms of like complete package. Like, yeah, he's on a smaller side, but
but
like the
dude,
second he gets, if he catches the ball in stride, game over.
he
And
he
that's what the
doesn't he
Chiefs
doesn't
needed.
run on energy and like through food that we do. He runs on freaking petroleum, dudes.
And
He's a jet.
That's what the Chiefs needed. And they didn't have it last year. Like they had their pass catcher receiver, they have Travis Kelsey. They just needed a speedster, like a home run hitter, and they got that, and it's ridiculous. All right, so you
I
got
know.
Chiefs.
Chiefs, I
Oh,
think NFC is a question mark for me, honestly.
all right, but you got to
Um
pick an NFC team.
yeah, I'm not saying 49ers. I'm not
Okay.
saying 49ers. Ooh,
You have like a minute
honestly,
before the Zoom cuts out. So,
okay, honestly, if their defense holds, the Eagles.
all right, and who's
If
winning that? Who's winning that one?
Between Chiefs and Eagles, I pray to God it's the Eagles, but
All right,
realistically, it's the Chiefs.
so you have so we so far have two out of the 3 people who have guessed on the show have Chiefs over Eagles. Just a fun thought experiment to see who's the closest to being right. All right, and with that, this has been awesome. Great having you on the show. Glad we can make this happen. You're welcome back whenever you want. Awesome seeing
Love,
you.
love you, man.
All right, see you later.
All right.
All right, let's get into our college football preview. It all starts Friday night with a ranked matchup in the Big 12 with Arizona versus Kansas State. This actually might be a fun game. I am curious to see just how good both teams are. I can't say I have watched either team this year, so this is a good way to see how good the teams are and if everyone could be a legitimate Big 12 contender. Plus, it's always fun to have like a meaningful game on Friday night. Like, this is a ranked matchup in the Big 12. Like, this will be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Moving into Saturday, we got a lot of fun matchups in the early slot. Alabama is going to Wisconsin to take on the Badgers. A few years ago, this would have been a much better game, but I think Wisconsin is going away from what made them good. 5 years ago, they were a run heavy team with strong defense. They had a strong, let me back that up. They had a strong defense, and while not great on offense, they were usually a Big Ten contender. Now, Tyler Van Dyke at quarterback and Luke Finkel as the coach, they're trying an air raid style offense, which so far doesn't look great. And Alabama, while struggling last week, is still a very good team. So this should be an easy win for them. Like, I don't think this will be that competitive of a game. It is fun when you get an SEC Big Ten matchup, though. College Game Day is taking a trip to Columbia, South Carolina to watch LSU take on the Gamecocks. I can't say I had it on my cards this year that College Game Day was going to be going to Columbia, South Carolina. But it's going to be electric, great atmosphere down there. And who knows, maybe with the spotlight and Brian Kelly's inability to win a big game, South Carolina could get a huge win against LSU. Again, I can't say I've watched a whole lot of South Carolina football this year, so I am curious to see how they play. All right, moving to Columbia, Missouri. Since we are a Boston College podcast, we got to talk about the Eagles taking on the sixth ranked team in the country. Now, this is going to be a big test to see just how good Boston College is. And never in a million years did I think I was going to focus on Boston College this season. But it looked good for 2 games, and this could be a program changing win if they can pull off this upset. And again, like, I know Missouri's good, but like, I don't think Faro Field is that hard of a place to play. All right. Like, it's not the best SEC atmosphere. Yeah, it's going to be rocking, ranked matchup. Missouri's finally good, but like, if outside of Vanderbilt, like if you're playing an SEC team in terms of just overall environment, this might be the best one to go to. Also, we got Oregon going on the road to Corvallis to take on the Beavers. Much bigger game than I want to think this is. We haven't won in Corvallis the last 2 times we've been there. This is an Oregon team that has struggled to get going, and I'm actually much more nervous about playing Oregon State than usual. I don't think Oregon State's any good, but like, this game has to be worried. This is the type of game we could totally lose. I really hope we don't. But the Beavers have nothing to lose. They barely have a conference. They barely have a team. What they were building collapsed as the Pac-12 broke apart, and this would be a huge win for the Beavers. And if the Ducks just protect Dylan Gabriel just a little bit, they could easily win this game because we have guys on offense and we just need times for the play to develop. Not a ton of great games for the evening, but I'm curious to see how Colorado State does against Colorado. It was a tough win for Colorado last year in this game, and they showed everyone they weren't that good. And it was this game where everyone realized maybe they aren't good as we thought they were. And it would just be priceless if Colorado loses to both Nebraska and Colorado State in back-to-back weeks. Again, I don't want to keep talking about Colorado. I say that every week. I said it all last season too, how I don't want to talk about them. But we have to because they just find a way to be in the national spotlight despite being the most overrated college football team. Moving to the NFL, a Thursday game that is worth watching, believe it or not. Bills versus Dolphins. It's going to be a fun game. 2 great offenses. And I know the Bills lost their entire offense during the offseason, but as long as Josh Allen's throwing a ball, the Bills have a chance. He did hurt his non throwing hand last week, but as of this taping, we're taping this on Tuesday, he feels fine. So moving into Sunday, we got Sam Darnold facing his old team, the 49ers. Now, the Vikings, I will admit, looked good last week because they played the Giants. Anyone looks good playing the Giants. But if they can find a way to hang against the 49ers, it pains me to say it, they might actually be kind of good. I don't know if they're going to win, but like if they can be competitive, we, who knows, maybe the Vikings are good. Like, they're the type of team that doesn't necessarily need a good quarterback. They have the pieces around a quarterback to be good, and they could use a good quarterback, but like Kirk Cousins was never that good. And the Vikings, for the most part, were a competitive team with him. So like Give the coaching staff some credit, give the defense some credit, give all the offensive weapons some credit because like Aaron Jones is still a great player. And I really hope the Vikings are that good because, again, I'm a Packers fan, so it pains me when the Vikings are good. And the Packers are going to be playing the Colts, and I will admit it, the Colts, while they didn't win last week, they looked good on offense. The Packers haven't beaten the Colts in a very long time. And also, who knows who's going to be playing quarterback for the Packers? As of this taping, they're saying it's Malik Willis. I really hope not. I've heard rumors that Ryan Tannehill has been contacted by the Packers. They have not confirmed those rumors as of his taping, of course. I mean, there are worse options than Ryan Tannehill. Just saying, if we were going down a route, he is a competent quarterback. I wouldn't say a good one, but competent, and competency is what we need. But it might be a slow start for the Packers this season. But I'm glad Jordan Love is okay. Word on the street is it could have been a lot worse. So I don't think we're in bad shape. I think when Jordan Love comes back, we're going to win some games. I think we're going to be a good team. I'm not worried about the Packers at all. It's only 1 week. I know this could change, but I still think the Packers are in great shape. We got a playoff rematch for the Buccaneers taking on the Lions. I think people don't talk enough about Tampa Bay. Yeah, I know it's the NFC South. They're a terrible division, but give Baker Mayfield credit. He's balling out down there, and he found a resurgence in his career. They have a good enough team, not just to win the NFC South, but actually like make a deep playoff run. Like I think people don't talk enough about Tampa Bay. They're a consistently good team. I know they had Brady for like 3 years, and that's why they've made the playoffs so many times in a row. But like, give them some credit. They're making Baker Mayfield a good quarterback, and you know what? I'll keep an eye on them. I think they might be good. And again, it does help you play in the NFC South, which is a god awful division. For the afternoon, not a ton of great games. Chiefs versus Bengals could be fun, but the Bengals love to start the season slow. And I think that's a ploy tactic. They want people to forget they're actually really good. But it's a big game because if the Bengals end up losing and they end up being good down the stretch and make a playoff run, this week 2 game could dictate a lot for playoff seeding. So I think the Bengals need to get together this week. And also, the Chiefs historically do struggle against Joe Burrow. So, like, let's see what happens. We're a Joe Burrow podcast. We always will be. That's why we may have drafted him on our fantasy team. Again, we love Joe Burrow. Maybe not the best fantasy quarterback, but great dude. A+ human being. Moving into Sunday night, we got a fun one between the Bears and the Texans. This, I think, is a very important game for the Bears to show America what kind of team they are. I do think the game against the Titans was a fluke because the Titans are a bad team. The Texans are a pretty good team, and the offense is a lot better this season already. They got weapons, they made it even better, and CJ Stroud is a good quarterback. So I hope the Bears lose. I want people to realize the Bears are that good. That week 1 game was a fluke. The Titans won in that game. For Monday night, we have the Battle of the Birds, Falcons versus Eagles. Let's just give Giants fans another reminder what they could have had by watching Saquon dominate once again on Monday night. Falcons didn't look great last week, but they were playing the Steelers, great defense and all, but I do think this is the best quarterback they've had a long time. I know Kirk Cousins is old, but like, you know what? It's the best quarterback they've had probably since Matt Ryan. All right. Like, give him some credit. And they have the pieces to be a good offense. So if they can get it together, they could maybe be a fun team to watch. Again, I know the Buccaneers are like the best team in the NFC South, but like the Falcons aren't far behind. So like they have an opportunity to be good. Someone has to win that division. That's our show for this week. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week, and we will keep doing the Tuesday night streams of College Football 25, which I really hope you're enjoying. It's a lot of fun playing that game, even though I'm absolutely terrible at it. All right, Big Fred, over and out.